meeting tonight, which is March 11th at 5:30. And I will read our disclosure that we're authorized by the Governor's Emergency Executive Order issued on March 12th that the Fort Bragg Unified School District Board of Trustees will conduct Board of Education meetings via video conference until further notice. Members of the public who wish to address the board during the board meeting are asked to please submit prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Are there any public participation in closed session for either the regular board meeting or the special board meeting?
As of right now, Renee, I'm going to mute you. As of right now, we have we don't have any public participation on closed agenda items.
Do you want to give it a few minutes with the lag time?
I'm looking at YouTube right now to kind of gauge the lag time, and I think we're about 30 seconds behind. Okay, so we are caught up now. You've asked for it on YouTube for any comment.
Okay, so seeing that there are no public participation, I would like to adjourn to closed session for the regular board meeting and the special board meeting. Okay, so I would like to reconvene to open for both the special meeting and the regular board meeting for March 11th at 6:01. And we will be reconvening to close session at the end of the meeting. We weren't able to finish, but I'd also like to report there's nothing to report for action taken during the regular board meeting closed session. And in closed session during this special board meeting, the board took action to non-reelect employee number 3031. And the roll call was taken in closed session. Trustee Mattson, absent. Trustee Babcock, yes. Vice President Makula, yes. President Paoli, yes. Trustee Schneider, yes. So the motion passes unanimously with a 4-0. So we are simultaneously having a special meeting and a regular meeting. And so I don't think, do we need to approve the agenda for the special? Is there anything to move or pull? Okay.
No, and you do need to approve the agenda for the special.
Okay.
So just do one at a time.
May I have a motion for the special board meeting?
I move that we approve the agenda for the special board meeting.
Second?
Second. Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, so seeing no objection, agenda approved. And do we have
So
public
Diana, I apologize. I think you said something and we didn't hear it. So I don't know if you asked for a vote. I just didn't catch it because you muted out for a little bit.
So there was a motion by Mary to approve the agenda and a second by Kathy. And seeing no objection, I could do a voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no objection, the approval of the agenda
Thank you.
has been approved. And the next item is public comment for agenda items on this special board meeting.
There's no public comment.
Okay. And so I'd like to just move on to the action item on the special and be able to adjourn the special and go into the regular meeting. So we'll go to 4.1, FDTA MOU changes. If Becky, can you present, please?
Sure. So we received in the agenda, you have the FBDTA agenda. I'm sorry, the FBDTA MOU, and you should be able to see the changes as presented. And we'll talk more about this in the regular board meeting as well for the high school plan. I just really want to give a shout out to the high school teachers and really the wonderful, valiant effort that happened from them. Just to let people know, I went back to FBDTA and said, hey, I would like to look at the high school plan. I would like to revisit it. Is there any way we can get the kids to attend 2 classes? The leadership team from Fort Bragg High School reconvened and said, no, we really think the kids need to go to 3 classes. So they worked with their constituents and took a vote, and the vote was over 90% in favor of having the students travel to see 3 of their classes. And so the MOU was then modified to address that change. So thank you to Fort Bragg High School teachers and FBDTA for allowing this to happen. I have to tell you, I got all emotional about it. It was a good thing, and I'm really proud of our staff, and I'm really proud of the work that they did to get this to happen. It is a wonderful, wonderful day for kids. So thank you, Fort Bragg High School. Thank you, FBDTA. You see before you the changes to the MOU to allow that to happen.
So are there any clarifying questions? Are there, seeing no questions, public comment?
The public comment we have is really for the regular board meeting. So I don't I know I said there's no public comment. There's no public comment for the special board meeting.
Okay. So may I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adopt the updated MOU with FBDTA as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
and Trustee Matson's absent.
So moved. So I too, I'm sure all of the board will agree that thank you for the teamwork for the teachers and the admin at the high school for coming up with a solution. So I would like to adjourn the special meeting at 6:07, and we'll just go right into the regular May 11th agenda. So may I have a motion to adjourn the special?
I'll move we adjourn the special meeting.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Seeing no objection, we adjourn at 6:08. So now we'll go pick up with the regular board meeting of May 11th, and we will need approval of agenda. So is there anything that needs to be moved or pulled? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the regular agenda for March 11th.
So second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Hearing no objection, so moved. And we will move into the public participation of non-agenda items. So members of the public may take this opportunity to comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any non-agenda items public participation?
And Diana, just a point of clarification. I think a couple times you said May 11th. It's March 11th.
March, sorry. Looking ahead. Thank you for clarifying.
So we do have one public comment, President Paoli, and I'm going to say that it is on non-agenda items, but it could be for agenda items. But I would say it's probably more for non-agenda. Have you reviewed it?
Just the one. Because it's probably could go either way. So I will read the blurb. The following public comment was received by the district using the public comment email address. For ease of public participation, it will be read into the record by a district employee. This should not be construed as an endorsement of this comment by the district or as the position of the district. And is it in the special?
So I have it on my screen if you would like me to read it. Or if you would like to read it, let me know.
Okay. I have, is it March 9th at 7:09 email?
Yes.
My name is Michelle Cruz. I'm the mother of 3 students at 3 different schools in the Fort Bragg School District. I'd like to thank all of the staff for all their efforts to get those kids back on campus safely and efficiently. I have noticed teachers, parents, office staff, and even yard duty teachers so excited to have class together again at the campus. It seems so many parents and so many children and so many teachers are very happy about this transition. Everybody seems so hopeful and positive with this transition. So thank you for making this easy. I do have one comment that is a concern. I was told by a teacher at the Dana Gray Elementary School that the students, some as young as 8 years old in third grade, are not allowed to time outside. They are to remain at their desk for brain quiet time. They may go out to the bathroom, but they may not have a break outside. Also, they are not allowed to bring water bottle or a snack. First, I'd like to state the fact that 2 of my children's schools allow them outside time with other students, time for a snack and a water break. Yet the youngest of the children is not allowed to leave their desk at all during the school day. I was recently told that my son's class has to earn the time outside. I was very frustrated, concerned, and upset about this because, in my opinion, and in my family values, and in my education of child development, it is essential for children to have time outside and have a snack. Time to go outside and enjoy fresh air and sunshine should never be earned, but given because it is absolutely essential for a child's development. When I brought this to the teacher's attention, she had only replied that she was going to do what she was told, which is very restrictive for these young children, in my opinion. I felt disregarded and my concerns not attended to. She seemed more focused on the academic rather than the big picture of not only the academics, but the importance of children's break time and socialization time, water and snack nourishment time, remembering that these are very young children. The parents were told to give their children a big breakfast and to use the restroom before going to school because she does not allow those breaks for her students. I believe this is confusing and unfair that while 2 of my students can have a much needed essential break outside for a few minutes and a sip of water and maybe a snack, but yet my youngest is not allowed. I would like the school board and the superintendent, Mrs. Rebecca Walker, to please make it clear to all of the schools and all of the teachers that it is indeed okay for the children to have a snack and for them to leave their desks for a few minutes outside. The schools have been following the rules and protocols, including the social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer, and are functioning quite well while allowing children to play outside and have a much needed break and nourishment for young children. I am not understanding why only the Dana Gray School is not allowed to have breaks or snack or water. I am asking the school board and the superintendent, Mrs. Rebecca Walker, to please make it clear to all the schools, all the teachers, and all the parents that it is okay and allowed much needed essential breaks, water outside time, and snack. Every person, including the teachers and office staff, need breaks to have a breather, snack, and water, or use the restroom or check their email and whatnot. I was told by a school board member that the superintendent has indeed said snack and break were allowed, but still some of the teachers at Dana Gray still won't budge, and I am asking to implement the break provision at Dana Gray as a mom and as an advocate for all parents and students. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Michelle Cruz.
So I will make it a point to contact this parent tomorrow.
So our next item.
Hold on, Kathy.
I'm really having trouble with, I think with Drive now, but is that, usually we have the public comment in the folder. Is that with us, or because it came in late? I don't know where that is.
It for ours, it's under the confidential board under 2020-21. Kind of, that's where I found it.
It's not in the March 11th regular? Because do we have public comment on agenda items too?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. All right, I'll have somebody show me if I can't seem to get it to pull up, but.
And I think I also found it just directly from at Google Docs, but we'll clarify that so it's easier to find next time. So the next item on the agenda is the patriotic exercise. Trustee Snyder?
Yes, thank you. So in honor of March's Music in Our Schools Month, and in honor of that, we have a lovely presentation of our national anthem by Ashley Statham, Molly Windsor, and Nick McKenney. And Becky, if you could take it away. I think it's muted, Becky.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so let's try this again. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear it? No? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red flame, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Of the brave.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for coordinating that, Trustee Snyder, and thank you, Jenny Windsor, and to the students for a wonderful rendition of the. It was beautiful. So our next item on the agenda is the acknowledgements. Superintendent Walker.
Acknowledgements. So National Women's History Month is this month. March is also Music in Our Schools Month. So again, thank you, Jenny Windsor, for arranging that beautiful video. I think I've watched like 5 times just because it was nice to see kids doing what they need to do. And then we have a donation acknowledgement. A $200 donation was received from the Margot Rose Charity Fund to support FBUSD Nutrition Services, and ongoing donations received from Mendocino Food and Nutrition Program. Let me just make sure that was. Yes. And then the second one is for the Mendocino Coast Children's Fund. And I'm not sure if our community, maybe our community does know this, but the Mendocino Coast Children's Fund has donated an enormous amount of money since COVID. And when I spoke with Annie Leiner a few days ago, it's almost, I think it may even be over $1 million to the coast since COVID. And just to Fort Bragg Unified, the summer feeding program was $40,000. Harvest Market gift cards was $40,000. First shoe vouchers, $20,000. Sleeping bags to the tune of $15,000. Like-kind donations of clothes, new shoes, toothbrushes, toothpaste, hygiene items. All the clothes that we had in that clothing drive, about $145,000 in-kind donations. $2,500 to our Family Crisis Fund. They donated over 10,000 face masks that we've been distributing to kids. And they're now working with Anchor Academy to help develop a free student store. So in total, it's over $260,000 just to Fort Bragg Unified, and that doesn't mention what else they've done on the coast and for other services. So I really just wanted to give a shout out to Annie Leiner and the Children's Fund because they are a huge support on our coast, and I don't know if people quite understand the depths of what they provide for our families and for our kids. And it was really wonderful talking to Annie, and people know her as Gloria Liner as well. And the comment that she made to me was, Becky, children are children. It doesn't matter who their family is. It doesn't matter who their parents are or who their parents aren't. Children are children. And if they're in need, it's our job to help them. And so I just really thought that was a beautiful statement, and 100% so acknowledge the great work that they're doing, and so appreciative of the great work that they're doing, and that they've partnered with us as a school district so that those services and that help goes directly to children. So thank you, Children's Fund. And then one other acknowledgement I'd like to make at this time is just acknowledging the Mendocino Coast Clinics. And the reason I say that is because today, Wendy and I, we have our weekly meeting with our community partners, and we were working with Lucretia Renteria, who's been wonderful for Fort Bragg Unified, by the way. People don't realize that the Mendocino Coast Clinics contacted us and is helping us with our surveillance testing and making sure that during this pandemic that our employees can be tested whenever they want, every week if they want. And so that's been open. But what was eye-opening to me today was I asked about the vaccinations and how it was going. And Lucretia said, well, as of tomorrow, we will have provided over 4,000 vaccines in our little coastal area. 4,000 vaccines. That was incredible. And I said, so how do you get a reimbursement? She said, we're not getting reimbursed for that. I said, excuse me? Mendocino Coast Clinics is not the vaccines are being provided by the county and the state. They're not paying for the vaccines, but the time to administer them, the nursing time, the administrative time, the organizational time, the alcohol swabs, the Band-Aids, the gloves, all of those supplies are coming out of their coffers. And then someone will say, well, they received federal money, didn't they? Well, that federal money was for the surveillance testing. So they have not been reimbursed for this. And so I just want to do a shout out to say, thank you for serving our community. Talk about a service. And so that just about swept me off my feet, to be quite honest with you. It was all I could do to not have my jaw on the floor and keep saying what. I sounded like I was stuttering at one point. So just a shout out to Mendocino Coast Clinics and what they're doing for our community, and really, truly, truly appreciative. So there you go.
Thank you for sharing. So the next item on the agenda is communications. Does anyone have any communications to share? No. I received there was an article submitted by Mary to the Advocate News. So I was forwarded that article, which was a shout out to distant learning and teachers and staff. And the spotlight was the career technical education, which we know as CTE. So it was a great article. So if you don't get the Advocate, it is online. That's where I was able to find it, to see the picture in color. And I just wanted to know, or let everyone know, that I also have been getting CSBA Legislative Action Week. And Mary and I are going to be attending that on March 16th. And Renee, did we get an email or anything in response to our advocacy letter?
No, there hasn't been any correspondence received.
Moving on to public participation for agenda items. Do we have any?
We have no public comment other than the one that you read. Okay. And Kathy, that public comment is now in the folder.
So 8.1, moving on in the agenda, board reports.
I'll start us off. In addition to numerous webinars and reading articles and whatnot, I attended the MECA meeting with Becky last month. And what we're working on right now, Kathy attends in the fall, and then I attend in the spring for the job fair, which obviously the first job fair we put on was in person 2 years ago. And that is obviously not going to be able to happen. But I'm working with Veronica Baser to get together the virtual job fair, and we've come up with some plans that I think is going to be work out really well. I've spoken to some local employers who are saying they are thrilled that we're doing that and are looking for employees. So keep your eye out for the job fair that is, Becky, what does MECA stand for?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Give me a second to search it in my email, because it's a long acronym that I've never memorized. And if Veronica, give me just a second.
I think Veronica is the only one who ever remembers.
Yeah, she does a good job of that. It is the Mendocino Education Coordinating Council Association.
Great. And that is all the coastal superintendents, an MCOE rep, and the college co-center rep.
And it also includes Three Rivers. It includes CD Star and MCRPD.
Great. Okay. So anyway, they're all involved. So keep your eye out for that. And as Diana mentioned, she and I are attending the legislative action next week and had a little pre-training video, which thank you, Diana, for sending that on to me. So that's it.
I just haven't been able to attend anything. Actually, I don't know if I missed anything, but I just wanted to say how exciting it was to see all the back to school pictures and sharing and excitement. I've been able to talk to a couple teachers, passing them in the, actually at work. I won't say it's anywhere else, but anyway, and how excited they were to see their kids. And anyway, I just want to thank everyone in the district for their hard work and excitement and welcoming the kids back. And it's so exciting that we're moving forward. So thank you, everybody. And that's it.
Can I add one last thing? I'm sorry. I forgot last month. I did talk to Laura Vieira, and she said, Joe, I know Zaid's going to comment and tell us what's going on there, but they were thrilled to have 6th grade back. Can't wait for 7th and 8th grade back, but it feels like real school. So it was really exciting.
So just something in a similar vein, I just want to thank everyone for their courage and patience and determination to get kids back in class. We're about to make hopefully another big step here in the next week or so. And I know it's a little bit scary, and I just appreciate everyone's willingness to work in the unknown and in a little scary environment. But I think it's paying off tremendously, and your efforts definitely do not go unnoticed. So thank you, everyone, for all of the great work.
Great, thank you. I also want to, before I do want to push out a few things that I watched that are meaningful, and if anyone wants me to forward them, the AB 86, the reopening facts and fiction was really good webinar that I can forward it over, and also redistricting 101, which should be looked at a board after a census. So that's something up and coming that that was worthy. So if you'd like me to forward those to you, just let me know, email me. And I also want to do a shout out. The website interface is looking really nice. Things are I can find things, there's drop down, it's really efficient. So I don't know who's responsible for that, but I appreciate someone's attention to detail because it's looking very nice. I also want to, let me see them. Becky does a really nice morning moment, and Thankful Thursday is it. So just reach out to a teacher, a staff member, maybe your student, your own, like your own child, and yourself. Be gracious to you, all your work this year. It's been difficult, and everyone, teachers and students and parents have overcome daily hurdles. So I really appreciate that, and it's really true to showing that we do have real resiliency, and we're almost a year in this, and there's just a little glimmer of hope, and it's been really nice to attend virtually. I'm happy that people are still doing parent club meetings. I was able to attend a Dana Gray and a middle school, and then high school has site council. So those give us a little glimmer of what's happening on the sites because, as board members, unless you're helping a student, which, I'm not, I really don't know what that looks like. So, we haven't been able to see anything for 9 months. So I do appreciate the push out to those meetings because it does give us a glimmer of all the efforts that are happening at the site. So moving on to 8.2, I'd like to introduce our student rep, Zaid.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Redwood Elementary report. They have grades preschool through second on hybrid learning. Students on campus every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 12. Some of the special ed teachers can see students by appointment on Wednesday as well. Teachers are working hard to provide both remote and in-person instruction. It is wonderful to have students back on campus. They love having their remote students as well online. The third trimester is ending March 12th, and report cards will be sent home on the 19th. Dan Gray Elementary has no report. Fort Bragg Middle School has no report. Fort Bragg High School. They are having parent meetings on March 16th to discuss high school reopening in-person instructions. They're having English presentations from 5 to 5:45 and Spanish presentations from 5:45 to 6:30. End of the third quarter grading period is Friday, March 19th. Coming soon is Anchor Academy. We'll be opening a service for students by students on our campus. Thank you for Katrina Titchenen and Tim Anderson. It will be called Pay It Forward Party. Anchor Academy will be outfitting a room with clothes, food, school supplies, as well as basic hygiene items. This store will be free to students, and the store will be completely run by them as well. They want to thank Mendocino Coast Children Fund and the Food Bank to support the idea getting off the ground. Sports are happening. They're excited to see students around campus. Students of the Month Board will be on March 31st. Freshman Information Night will be on April 1st from 5:30 to 6:30. Parents LCAP meeting on April 7th from 5 to 4 p.m. Fort Bragg High School ASB is continuing hosting virtual game during virtual learning team on Fridays. They are currently working on combining a drive-through event for all Fort Bragg High School students that will include goodie bags and a suggestion from the VLT Senate from an activity bingo challenge. They are looking forward to having students on campus and finding fun ways to welcome them back on campus. Alternative education, no report. Thank you.
Thank you, Zaid, for the report. And feel free to log out whenever you need to, or you can stay for the action items as well. So the next items are Superintendent Walker report.
So the first agenda item is 8.3.1, which is our LCAP family engagement. We are required to have engagement opportunities for our families, communities, students, staff. And so we have 5 meetings. We just added another meeting. So on March 23rd, I will be meeting with our district's English language acquisition committee. Advisory Committee, our English Language Advisory Committee, or DLAC, to give them an opportunity to provide input to our LCAP. On March 30th at 3:30, I will be meeting with the Fort Bragg Middle School Site Council and providing an opportunity for LCAP input. Also on March 30th, that's not on here because it was just scheduled today, I will be meeting with holding a Redwood family parent engagement night, and that'll be at 5 p.m. on March 30th. And then we have on April 7th at 5 p.m., Fort Bragg High School and Alternative Education will be providing those families an opportunity for parent engagement on the LCAP. And then April 20th will be our last one, which is right after spring break when we come back, 5:30 at Dana Gray Parents Club meeting, where I will be hosting that group of parents as well, and any other parents who want to participate. So if you can't attend the LCAP meeting that is specific to your child's site, feel free to LCAP hop. You can join any meeting and provide your input at any of these 5 times. So March 23rd, 5:30, March 30th, 3:30, March 30th at 5 p.m., April 7th at 5 p.m., April 20th at 5:30. We will have all of these meetings in the public calendar, on the FBUSD public calendar, with information on who to email in order to get the link to attend. Questions on that? Okay. Next one is the summer school update. So we are hoping like crazy that we will be able to offer some level of summer school for our general education students. So ESY is extended school year. We will be offering that as normal, and that's typically for our special education students. So that will be happening, 4-week summer school. Migrant Ed summer school, that happens every year, will be happening. That's another 4-week summer school. And we're hoping to post positions here soon to see if we can get more certificated teachers to jump into summer school so that we can offer some summer school for students who require some extra support in reading and math. So we're hoping to have more information for you when we jump into our May meeting. We took a survey and we did have some interest. So I'm hoping that we can hire an additional 4 or 5 teachers. Kudos is also going to be providing some type of a summer program to support students in reading and math, and that'll be more for K-8. So more information forthcoming. Questions on that?
I do have a quick question. Are you going to have in-person cohorts, or?
So the idea is to have in-person summer school completely.
Okay, great.
That's the hope. So we'll see what happens, but that's the hope. The hope is to have very small class sizes so that the students can get the individualized attention and we can keep the distancing. The next one on superintendent report is the reopening of student activities. Really, it was just a notification to let you know that high school and middle school athletics have officially begun. Kids are practicing. It's wonderful to drive by the field and see them out there running around. They've been masking. It's been great. It's wonderful to see our kids outside in the fresh air. And then of course, it rains, which is always exciting when you finally get to go outside and be with your peers. So the good news is they're off and running. Both the middle school and the high school is, they both started their athletics program. There have been questions about athletic contests. We are still looking into that. We are not in a tier yet where we can be holding those contests. And then there are testing guidelines with that. So I spoke with Mr. Triplett today about that. We're going to be moving that forward a bit and looking at what Ukiah did with their athletics program and their athletics plan to get approved to have contests. So as of right now, we're not having any contests, but we hope to move in that direction here soon. Questions? Yes, Diana.
So the contests, the spring sports do have a schedule, but it's open to all sports for conditioning. Is that what you're saying? There's no contest?
So right now, the sports are designated by tiers. So there are red tier sports, there are orange tier sports, there are purple tier sports, there are yellow tier sports. And all the sports can do some kind of conditioning if the kids are distancing and apart. We have about 100 students right now who are participating in some type of athletic sport, some type of athletic group right now on campus. So we are hopeful that as we move into the red tier, again, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to offer contests, meaning competitions, right, for the red tier sports. So we're going to be moving through the tiers and hoping we can move through them quickly so that we can, so that our teams can play.
It might be too late for next meeting, but it sounds like there was a big case that went down for California, and there's a testing cadence, and test today California for resources if we do have to do a testing cadence.
So that's what we're looking at with Mr. Triplett, and that's why I met with him today, because in order for us to hold contests, if we are holding contests for sports outside of their tier, that's really what it comes down to. So my knowledge of that lawsuit is that it said that all sports can practice, but if you're going to hold contests for those sports, that you have to have a testing cadence and it needs to be approved by public health. So we have been moving forward under the guise that we would only be offering contests when our tiers allowed. Mr. Triplett is saying, and Mr. Kubo, when we met with Mr. Triplett today, he said, look, let's just come up with a way to get the testing cadence ready so that if we can pull it off, let's pull it off. And I agree with him. So it's really going to be about testing. And so he is going to look at the Ukiah plan and some other schools' plan. He'll get our Fort Bragg High School, middle school plan together, and then we'll have a testing cadence when it comes to that. We have enough Binax Now tests that we could test all the athletes twice a week, and it shouldn't be an issue. So we just have to come up with what the plan is, and then what happens if we get a positive, and what that protocol is, so that everybody's clear on it. Questions? Okay. So next on the agenda is 8.3.4. And I wanted to just explain or share with the two partnerships that we're looking on. One is with the Mendocino Coast Clinics. They are actively pursuing a student health services grant. I'm hoping they get it. If they get it, then we will be partnering with them to provide student health services, potentially out of the Diedrich Center. We're not sure just yet. And that could be during school hours. I'm excited about that because it would give us access to healthcare during school hours for kiddos. And so if a family needs some medical support when their kiddo is sick on campus, they could go right over to the student health services and work with either a family nurse practitioner, an RN, or a pediatrician. So that's exciting news. We don't know what level it's going to be. We have to see what's going to be available, but we are very, very excited about that. At the bare minimum, we'll have some Blue Door services at the Diedrich Center next year, and it may only be a couple of hours a week, but having that with the teen lounge. So we're excited about that. And then the next partnership we're looking at right now is with Humboldt State University. They have written us into a grant called Talent Search, and it's really about providing college and career support for students in grades 6 through 12. There's an alternative education component, which is fantastic, and it doesn't have to be about a 4-year school. It's really about connecting kids to post-secondary career opportunities, whether that's you going off to a 4-year school to pursue your career, going off to a certificate program, or a 2-year AA, or a technical school, but helping kids get on a path to either college and career, and also looking at CTE components, finding those pathways and working with kids to get connected to the world of work into a place, from a place that brings them joy and passion. So we're excited about that. We're hoping that we get approved for that. If that happens, then we have the potential to have a college and career mentor. It's not really a counselor, but kind of a college and career mentor advisor for students grades 6 through 12, 40 hours a week. So Humboldt State would fund 20 and we would fund 20. What I'm excited about is that we could put that person in our beautiful career center, Mary and Kathy, and have the career center open after hours for kids, which is hugely important. So that's fingers crossed. I'm hoping it works. And thank you to Rose Francia, who reached out, the Humboldt State Liaison, who reached out and is writing the grant to ask us if we wanted to participate. So that was exciting. And then the last thing on the superintendent report is the tobacco grant. So we were awarded the tobacco grant right before COVID hit. We found out in late January that we received the tobacco grant. Yay, January of 2020, just to kind of connect all the dots for you. So the city said, okay, we have an SRO, it was Officer Lopez. Officer Lopez will be the school resource officer, SRO, and he will be able to begin after the February break. It didn't work right after the February break. He had to take some vacation, so it was like the week after the February break he began. So now we're in the first week of March. Okay, we start working with Officer Lopez. We get him situated in an office at Alt Ed. He's starting to meet kids. He's working with us. And then guess what happens on March 15th, Sunday, March 15th, I go to the county and I'm told that we are shutting down. So March 16th was our last day of in-person instruction, and March 17th, he had to go back on patrol because of COVID. So we haven't really used this grant. So when I met with the grant coordinators last week, they said, you need to use this grant. You can only roll over so much. So we met with Chief Nolte and Officer Lopez and Officer Zavala. And together, Officer Lopez and Officer Zavala are going to serve as SROs to help meet the requirements of this grant. One of the things that we are going to start is the parent meeting component. So we decided prior to the end of the year, we have 3 months left, that we would take the first Tuesday of April, the first Tuesday of May, and the first Tuesday of June to hold tobacco parent meetings. And what's wonderful is both Officer Lopez and Officer Zavala are both bilingual. So we are going to hold a 30-minute informative meeting on vaping on April 6th, and we will have a Spanish-only meeting. So the whole 30 minutes will be in Spanish. There won't be translation back and forth. And then from 5:30 to 6, we're going to hold just an English-only meeting. And truly, I think by holding it in 2 different languages, our Spanish-speaking families will be able to ask the questions that they need to ask without waiting. And our 2 officers will be able to explain their questions back and forth and really have a much more in-depth, much more meaningful discussion. And then our English only can do the same thing. They'll have samples, not to give out, but samples to show so that parents can understand what they're looking for with vaping and the dangers of it. I suspect that the vaping discussion may take on more than a half an hour, but unfortunately we only have 30 minutes. And then we have planned that May 4th would be about chewing tobacco and June 1st would be about cigarette smoking. If the vaping discussion takes on a larger life, because it really is the new one that parents have most questions about, then we can do a second round of vaping on May 4th to answer more questions. So we're leaving the topics a little bit flexible here, but we wanted to show you the times so that we could share with our community that these are happening. What I'm thrilled about is that they're short. They're 30 minutes. Most people can pull out 30 minutes of their day. And not only that, we are going to be recording them. And then we're going to be posting the links to those recordings on our tobacco page, our tobacco webpage. So they will be recorded. We're going to send out a Parent Square message and have it in the public calendar to notate who you need to email to get the link to the meeting. We'll have those available and we'll be watching for that email, so that if people ask for the link during the meeting, we're going to send those out as well. So I'm excited about it. It's a good way to start. And this was from the Proposition 56 grant funds, just so folks know. It's the tobacco tax. So that is my report.
Great. And board members, thank you for the report, Superintendent Walker. Just wanted to reach out to me, email separately, who would like to attend the LCAP family engagement or the tobacco, because we can only have 2 board members in order to be Brown Act, following the Brown Act. So, but no, it sounds like, will the LCAP family engagement meetings be recorded?
I wasn't planning on it, but we can.
So the next item on the agenda is 8.4 mid-year report, and we have Roger Coy to present for us. Thank you for coming and waiting so patiently.
No problem. Thank you. So I'm not sure what the best way to present this is. Let me. How do I? Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry.
Roger, would you like me to share your documents? Would that be easier?
Can you see it now? Can you see it?
No, I can't see it. Can anybody see it? Did you do present now, Roger?
Mm-mm.
Okay, would you like me to just share from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Becky. All right. So basically, just like to give an update as to how we're doing and where we're at mid-year here. You could go ahead and go to the next slide, please. We have about 83 students that are enrolled at the school this year. We're down a little bit from our normal. But as you can see, our socioeconomic disadvantaged students is at 70%, and it normally runs between 60 and 70%. Our special education student population is at 8%. Foster students, 1%. Our kids that are actively involved in our EL program are at 17%. And breaking down, you can see that Native American, 1%, white, 56%, Hispanic, Latino, 35%, and our two-race, 8%. So the Hispanic Latino number in the past has been lower, and that was our objective, is to get it up closer to FBUSD. So hanging in 35%, so that's pretty good. All right, next slide, please. All right, so for the remaining portion of this year, when I wrote this plan and presentation, and we were first talking about it, there was some debate on whether we were going to be doing state testing or not. And I think that's pretty well been decided that we will be doing state testing. So I had, as NWEA, we use that for our assessment of our student body as well. And that was going to be the alternative. We were going to do one or the other. So, of course, we'll be doing the state testing, and we're planning on doing that. We're planning on reopening March 29th. And I think we'll be bringing all the grades in. We go up, of course, through 8th grade. But I think next week, if things go as planned, the county will be moved into the red tier, hoping that that happens. And then that will make it okay as far as the middle school program goes. And just a note, our staff has been vaccinated, all but one of our staff. We're working on ventilation in the school. I've got a way to monitor it through the school year. I have a spreadsheet that's from the CDC that allows me to calculate the amount of CO2 that's left in the air, and based upon the population of people, so I can measure it even on a weekly basis to make sure we're getting the correct number of airflows, air changes. And I have a filtering system set up in all of our classrooms. So I think we've got that handled. We've put in extra washing stations, a number of sanitation stations throughout the school. We have a new drop-off and pickup for the students to make sure that we really don't want the families coming on campus at all. And the way we're setting it up is they'll be able to bring in their kids and pick up their kids without ever getting out of their cars. So that'll be monitored. We'll be screening as the kids come in every morning. and well, actually, the kids will be coming in the afternoon. Sorry. And but when they come in for drop off, we'll be screening all the kids. And we're working on getting the staff trained, and we'll be doing special training for the families, including the students, and getting all the signage and everything marked off. Okay, next slide, please. So we've gone out several times to our families to see how it's breaking down with our families as far as even coming back. We have a significant number of families that do not want to come back on campus. And you can see that number tends to run somewhere around 30%. We're working through this, but it allows us to really try to decide how we're going to break up the class. We specifically know who to set up in our hybrid system, which would be Monday, Tuesday, we have one group coming in, Thursday, Friday, another group. And then on Wednesdays and Saturdays, our plan is to disinfect the entire school completely. And of course, it'll be cleaned on a daily basis. Now, as it's breaking down, because the grades 1 and 2 is small enough, we're able to keep that entire class for the students that want to come on campus in one cohort. So that group will be brought in 5 days a week. And we may end up with another class in the same situation. So wherever we can, we're going to 5 days for that group. But as I go over our schedule for coming up, you'll see it's a little bit different. So next slide, please. We're working on hiring a couple of teachers. Of course, we had the passing of one of our teachers earlier in the year, and we'll be replacing our 7th, 8th grade teacher will be moving into the 5th, 6th grade class, and we'll be hiring a new 7th, 8th grade teacher and a new 1st and 2nd grade teacher. The 1st and 2nd grade teacher will replace Miss Morgan, who will be taking over for me because I'll be retiring at the end of the school year. So we've been working together for the last year and a half or so, and she's all ready to do that. We're currently working on a new lease for the college to extend it and trying to negotiate a longer term lease. They're still a little reluctant to do that because they're unsure about their student body over the next couple of years who will be coming on campus, but we're working on it. And we have started our enrollment for next year. And hopefully we'll be doing a lottery. We do it every year, and we'll be doing it in April as well. We have a little bit of a waiting list, so we'll be working through that. Next slide, please. It's hard to see, but I just did want to give you a snapshot of the budget. We're doing well this year, especially with the CARES funding and the ESSER funding that we've received. We should end up with a surplus of $200,000. We got a little bit more of that to spend for some additional equipment. And there are some things we've run into at the school for setting it up properly for bringing the kids back on campus. So that'll be a little bit less than that. But this is a snapshot for the next 5 years here. All right. Next slide, please. So I won't go through the entire plan, but I did want you to know we have a plan in place. The kids, actually the teachers that really feel like they're kind of getting into a good groove with the kids as far as Zooming in the morning with math and English and doing asynchronous work in the afternoons if they need to do that. So they were reluctant. The teachers were not crazy about breaking that up and changing that around, especially once the kids get back on campus, where we end up moving the schedules back and forth. Almost all of our classes typically in a typical year do math and English in the mornings. The kids are more awake and more alert. So they tend to do it at that time. So they've continued to Zoom with those subjects, and they'd like to continue to do that. So the kids will actually be at home in the mornings, and we will bring them in the afternoon, mainly for a focus on science and social studies. So they're going to continue to do math and English. Other than the middle school classes, we'll be doing some English in the afternoons. So we think this will work better. I know it's contrary to what a lot of people are doing, but we think it'll work better for our population and what our kids need. So that's the plan. And like I said, the kids that are coming back in for 5 days, they'll be there every day. And we've got a number of different programs that we're working out for the afternoon. So they're excited about that. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm covering everything. Okay, I think so. If you could give me the next slide, please, Becky. This just goes into detail a little bit more on the schedule. Next slide, please. The safety protocols, I think we've covered everything. Just to mention it, everything from, of course, wearing masks, safe distancing, that'll be practiced with all grades. And we have plexiglass, as well as the safe distancing for the classrooms. We're using the 6-foot mark between kids, and if we can't get that distance, then we're breaking the class down into multiple groups. So that's kind of the guideline. And I think we have all the support in place. We're working right now with the county and BINEX, as well as to do the antigen testing. And I think we've gotten all the training in place. We've got our people in place ready to do the testing. We're just waiting for the final contracts to be worked out with Primary, which is a database management company that'll be coordinating between the schools and the California Department of Public Health. Our final plan is in place with or has been submitted to the County Public Health, as well as to the California Department of Public Health. And we're just waiting for word back on that, that everything is okay for us to go ahead. All right, next slide, please. This is what I was just talking about. One of the things I would say, in addition to what I've already said about this, is not allowing families onto our campus unless it's an emergency. Parents won't be allowed in the classroom unless they make an appointment for the teachers, and everything will go through the office. So we're tightening up our campus a lot more than it has been in the past. Next slide, please. And of course, the main idea behind all of this is the safety of the students and the staff. We want the staff to feel comfortable. And I think we've got it at the point now where everybody's feeling pretty good about it. And the parents are pretty well aware of our plan and what we're doing. And we're trying to bring them along with us as we get it developed. There won't be any shared equipment between any of the classrooms. No two groups will be on the playground at the same time. And we made sure that by bringing the kids in the afternoon as well, there won't be eating together. So masking was a key issue for us. Okay, next slide, please. That's it. So are there any questions, comments?
Thank you, Roger.
Yes, thank you for.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Can you just remind me how many students you have at your school?
83.
83. It's a great schedule. I've heard of many different there's many ways, as I say, to brew a cup of coffee. And so your plan looks really engaging for kids, giving them the option to come in the afternoon. Because I've seen one district in Sonoma, which I've never seen before, they only had recess and like enrichment on campus because the distant learning was working so well. Connectivity and support at home so it's interesting how, it's great you have a small group that you're able to input. Thank you for attending and very exciting. I guess, Scott, you have a question?
Yeah, so I don't know what the smiles are for, but Becky, I'm wondering if the board can take action so Roger can't retire and he can stay on.
See, my smiles were purely from jealousy. I have to tell you, pure jealousy.
So I just, for someone whose children attended you both as teacher and principal, you really made that school a very special place, and you put your heart and passion into it. And it's congratulations on your retirement, but very sad to see you go. I know Kim will do a fabulous job, but you will be very, very missed. So thanks for all that you do, the countless hours that no one ever sees you put in. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. So the next item on our agenda is the California School Employee Association, which is also known as CSEA. Is there a report, Renee? No?
No, there's no report.
Okay. And then the next item on the agenda is 8.6, Fort Bragg District's Teachers Association, which we also know as FBDTA report.
There's no report for them.
Okay. So I didn't go back to see how many months it was, but as professionals in the classroom and as staff members in the classroom, I really value the report, and I know other board members value the report because we're here to advocate for everyone, all the stakeholders. And so with resources coming down from maybe the federal and the state, it's helpful to have that piece because we really haven't been in the classroom. And I think it'd be, I don't know that it would be the best thing to go peek in on a distant learning, I'm not just suggesting that I want that, but it is meaningful. We value the input. And I know with the testing coming down, what resources do they need? And it's valuable. So I just wanted to throw that out. I know I don't want to get back on the computer at the end of the day. If they wanted to have it read out, I mean, we'd appreciate that. Moving on the agenda, approval of agenda consent items. The consent calendar is provided for agenda items that are routine or non-controversial. Items on the consent agenda are passed in one motion without discussion. Any items may be pulled from the consent agenda by the board and moved to action when approving. So do we have anything that we need to pull from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. Mary, if you could read the consent items.
Okay, we have item 9.1, warrants. Consider approval of the warrants dated March 2nd, 2021. Item 9.2, the minutes for the regular board meeting minutes, January 21, 2021. The special board meeting minutes, January 23rd, 2021. Special board meeting minutes, February 8th, 2021. Regular board meeting minutes, February 11th, 2021. And item 9.3, personnel action report, consider approval of district employment.
May I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent items as read.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Hearing no objection, the consent calendar has been approved. And we're going on to the board action item 10.1, which is 2021 COVID-19 school guidance checklist. Superintendent Walker.
So our school guidance checklist you approved in February, but we've updated it. And so it's changed a bit. So just as a point of transparency, I wanted to bring it back to the board to look at it again. Dr. Korn's already approved this. It's already been submitted to the state. It's on our website. But again, as a point of transparency, I wanted to outline the changes that have happened. We amended it on March 4th based on the FBDTA changes to the high school plan. Again, thank you so much, Fort Bragg High School. Thank you so much, FBDTA. So all those changes are in the checklist and are duly noted. So again, just a point of transparency. Are there questions on any of this? No questions.
I don't think so. The only question I don't know why I get these two documents confused. So my question might be for the next item. But does this document did we need to revise the 72-hour and put that you'd call public health, or is that on the next document?
That's on the next document, and that's been amended.
Okay. So seeing no questions, do we need to formally approve this again?
I would like you to, please.
Okay. Roll call. Or actually, I'm sorry, may I have a motion first?
Yeah,
I'll move that we approve item 10.1, 2021 COVID-19 school guidance checklist.
I'll second.
Renee, now a roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
And the next item is 10.2, COVID-19 Prevention Program, CCP, which is also known as the OSHA.
This is the Cal OSHA plan. And so this is our COVID prevention plan. And just to remind folks, the COVID prevention plan in partnership with the school checklist, those two things together make up our COVID safety plan. So again, this is just a point of transparency. There were some minor changes made that Dr. Corn had requested, and we made those changes. We made the changes in also with the changes to the high school plan. And then you asked about the 72 hours, Diana, and we adjusted all of that in our protocols at the end of this document. And so that's included in this plan as well.
Any clarifying questions? And have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the COVID-19 prevention program dated February 15th, 2021.
In a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, Renee?
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and motion carries.
So the next item is 10.3, reopening plan with preschool through grade 6 and return to school.
So we asked to keep this on the board meeting. And Renee, would you mind muting? Thanks. So we continue to have this on the agenda until our kiddos are back full-time 5 days a week. So that's why this is on here. There's nothing to do with this at this point. There's no recommendation to give you. We are back to K-6. Our K-6 students are back in a hybrid model. But this will continue to be on every month at your request until we are back full-time 5 days a week.
Kathy?
I just have and maybe it's just me. I don't know what I am, but anyway, it says consider approval of reopening. I feel like the tagline is the reopening plan for preschool through grade 6. That seems to be, but when it seems a little misleading for people that aren't following what we're doing. So should we?
So we should remove that sentence. Yeah, I agree with you. We'll take that off on the next board meetings. We'll just have it. Just the reopening plan.
Yeah, maybe status of reopening.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it changes as we move through the rest of the school year. But yeah, I mean, we're open. It's just what it looks like as we move forward.
And the only question or comment I have moving forward, and this will probably develop, and it may be a non-issue, but I'm assuming as we go along, like the capacity difficulties and barriers may go away or be eliminated if our distancing changes. I mean, have you heard, is there any update on that? Because really we're kind of, the model that we're using especially at the elementary school, I don't know that there's any alternative to it. Like the simultaneous teaching has to happen because there's a capacity issue, and there's also contracted hours. We don't have enough hours to do PM. So we're kind of stuck. I mean, am I not understanding how this works? Because we weren't part of that there's so many, if you could update me on that.
So right now in our K6 plan, we have kids who are coming on campus Monday, Tuesday, those are our A days, and Thursday, Friday, those are our B days. When we did the original measuring, we were doing desk to desk measuring. In the current CDPH guidance on page 23, for those of you who would like to look at it, on page 23, it talks about measuring that it's chair to chair. So we haven't done any remeasuring yet. We have been discussing this with FBDTA. If there's a capacity issue and we need to fit more kiddos in the rooms, then we can remeasure our rooms so that we can add 1 or 2 more desks in. The talk right now at the state level is 4 feet versus 6 feet, 3 feet versus 4 feet. So that's really a nationwide discussion about distancing. What I suspect is that before we get to August, there's going to be some kind of amendment to the 6 feet of distancing. I suspect that it's either going to come down to 4 or come down to 3. There's a big push nationwide for it to come down to 3, because if it's 3 feet from chair to chair, you can fit the kids in the room. The difficulty is, what does it mean for movement? And then there's arguments for and there's arguments against. President Biden announced today, and I don't know if it was President Biden announced that he would like vaccines available to everybody as of May 1. Well, that's a big push. Does that change the landscape of how we reopen? So there are many things still in play with this. I suspect at this point that we are going to muddle through as best we can to June 11th. If our tier status loosens and we get into the orange tier or into the yellow tier, then that's going to change things significantly. So our goal always is to have our kiddos back 5 days a week. For right now, we're in a hybrid model. And I will reiterate again that the end game is not getting to the hybrid model. That's not our end game. That's why we have this on the agenda every month. Our end game is to get our kiddos back to school 5 days a week for the full day. That is what we are pushing for. So until our guidance changes and is modified so that we can bring all of our kiddos back in the classroom, we continue to monitor, we continue to address it day by day as things change. So for right now, I anticipate that before we hit August, we will have new guidance. It wouldn't even surprise me if we had new guidance right before school ends. It wouldn't surprise me if we have new guidance in April or tomorrow for that matter, because things change all the time. So as that comes down the pike, we absolutely will address it and look at it for each of our sites so that we can do the best that we absolutely can to bring our kiddos back into the classroom.
Thank you. Kathy?
So and this may, well, I know it is a little and I don't mean to be greedy, but as I hear things happening and, one of my coworkers' class only has 6 kids in it. And so I'm wondering if, as we move forward, if the discussion could or may happen that if, for example, that only 25% of the kids want to be back on campus and the rest want to be remote, could there be talk that those kids have the opportunity to come every day instead of just, and that's, I know, a capacity issue too, but it seems like a lot of families are, and they may be, I guess it's a caveat, I'm kind of bird walking, but because if the students were there 5 days a week, maybe a little longer, 4 hours, then maybe more families would want, so then it's a double-edged sword, because I know some families just aren't doing it because of the change in the weekly family schedule, and it's just easier to stay home. But I was kind of all over there with that statement, but I think
I know what you're asking, Kathy. I know what you're asking. So let me explain some of the challenges that we have. Let's say that we have enough kiddos who want the in-person and we have enough kiddos who want the distance. The difficulty is if we have, it's the classroom capacity issue. So if we could perfectly align all of our kids with teachers, so that, for instance, at Dana Gray, I believe their classroom capacity is 11. We can fit at most 11 kids in a classroom. With the teacher, that makes 12. So the class size for third grade is a maximum of 24. So that would mean that the teacher would need to have 11 in-person kids and 13 distance kids in order for those 11 kids to come to school every day. Makes sense? Redwood is a little bit of a pickle because we have a whole corridor of rooms that are small. And so if you measure desk to desk, we only came out with 8 kiddos who could fit in there. And so now if you have a class size of 24 for a first grade classroom, that leaves you 8 in person and you'd have to have 16 distance. Well, we don't have that kind of a ratio of distance to in person. And that's where the difficulty lies. And then when you get into the high school, you have a class, and middle school, the class size maximum is 30. So if you have 30 kids, you'd have to, and their rooms, I believe, can fit 11 or 12. Now we've got another lopsided situation. So that's the difficulty, is we have more and more people who are wanting in person, which is why we've had some shifting done at Redwood, because you have your 8 kiddos who attend the AB days and your 8 kiddos who attend the 8 kids who attend Monday, Tuesday, 8 kids who attend Thursday, Friday, and then you have 8 in distance. And so you can't fit all of them in the room. So that's where we're at. I am hopeful that as we move forward through the tiers that we can do some remeasuring, and that will help. The chair to chair will help. We'll be able to fit at least 1 or 2 more kids in every classroom. If the physical distancing goes down to 4 feet, we'll be able to fit more. If it goes down to 3 feet, we'll be able to fit more. So I think it's prudent for us to look at this a little bit more closely. But the hard part is we can't just say, okay, this teacher is only going to have in-person kids, because that teacher would only have like 10 or 12 kids. So we'd either have to hire more staff to take care of all the fully distanced kids. Does that make sense? We don't have enough staff to take our distance teachers and max them out to their 24 or to their 28 or 30, and then keep the in-person with just 10, class sizes of 10. We just don't have enough staff for it, and we don't have enough real estate. So that's the issue. But I get what you're thinking. If we have enough kids who want in-person, why can't they go every day? The hard part is the Monday, Tuesday, and the Thursday, Friday, when you add those kids together, it exceeds the number of seats in the classroom, which is why they're split. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
You did, but it seems like maybe as like Dinah was asking about that as the distance, if and when we go down to 4 feet or 3 feet, or, and maybe it is an option, because I really feel like we're going to see families that are successful in distance want to stay distance. And I know that districts everywhere are going to have to figure that piece out. But, I think hopefully we will continue to see the success we are seeing on campus with in-person as well. And so maybe there can be a balance somewhere along the way that kids could be there 5 days a week. And because I have also heard from another family that it's Monday and Tuesday is great. And then when Wednesday hits, it's the student, kind of retreats, and, there's this real struggle with getting back on the computer. So, I think everybody's learned. This is a huge learning curve again. And I just want to thank the staff. I know there's been some criticism that I've heard as well. My student online isn't getting the same attention as the teacher or the kids in person. It's like, the teachers just got to this. Give them a break. They've got to refigure out once again how to do, teach to the kids at home at the same time that they're teaching to the kids in person. So, everybody's learning, and so we need to be patient, but also I'm hopeful that maybe some other adaptations can happen as things move forward.
And what's difficult about this process is what you just said, Kathy, is that there's no practicing until the kiddos come. It's not like everybody could do a dry run and say, okay, let's give it a go. Until you have students in the classroom and you're dealing with it right there in real time, that is your practice. It is trial by fire. So our teachers are trying to manage and juggle. How do we do in person? How do we do online? And I have to tell you, there's a real difference with doing it in kindergarten with 5-year-olds, or in Angie Daniels' case, who does TK and K. So she's got the TK and the K in a classroom. There's a real difference doing it there versus a 6th grade room where the kids are older, a little bit more mature, and a little bit more independent. So there's a learning curve as you go up the grades. I don't think any grade will say, piece of cake, super simple, love it. Okay, no one's going to say that. This is not how we were meant to teach. So every week, every day that our teachers are doing this, they're gaining more and more experience and more practice. And you don't know what you don't know. So, we've given them tools. We've talked about using the TVs to be their Brady Bunch grid, if you're old enough to know who the Brady Bunch is, and use that so the kids can look at each other. And, the first time we said that, people were like, no, I'm not using it for that. And then this week, it was like, oh, hey, guess what we're using it for? I'm like, great. So it's fantastic. This is going to be a complete learning curve for everybody. And unfortunately, the only time our teachers can practice are when kids are there. So it makes it hard. It makes it difficult. And we need to remind folks, we've never done this before. Okay, this is our first go at it. So each day will get better. And I made a comment to one teacher this week. I said, hey, we need to give all of ourselves a break. Give yourself a break. Right now, what we're most concerned with is that we have kiddos back in the classroom. They are having human contact. I'm going to say wonderful and score on us. And that's what we need to focus on right now. We need to focus on getting our kids back and dealing with this human side of them, the social emotional side of them. We'll get to the reading and the math. And that's the hard part, because we all want it and we all want it all right now. And the reality is, because our tensions are so high, it's really easy to pick apart what folks are doing. But in response to another thing that you said, Kathy, just a good segue, I made the comment to Renee yesterday that when we go into the April board meeting, I want to put on discussion that we really talk about the educational options that we provide families in the fall. And I say that to you because when we talk about these reopening plans and giving families a distance learning choice, an in-person choice, we have learned from COVID that many students have thrived in distance learning. Many students have discovered, okay, I can do school now. Many students have discovered, okay, I can do this. So we do not want to take away that opportunity and that success from those kiddos who are thriving. At the same time, we have many students who discovered this distance thing stinks and I need to be back. And we need to serve those kids in the 5-day capacity model so that they are there full time. We know this is not working for them. And again, hybrid, not the end game. So when we move into the fall, we really need to ask ourselves, and I shouldn't say ourselves, but we really need to look to CDE about what guidance we will have on what educational models we will be able to provide. And we have to learn from COVID. We have to learn from this experience that we need to provide those opportunities for our kiddos to learn in different modalities. And I'm really, truly hoping that when we get to the fall, we can provide some kind of fully distance program, fully independent study program, and fully in-person program, so that our families have a choice, they feel confident in returning to school, that we will be able to move our kiddos into the appropriate program so our teachers are not juggling 3 balls in the air at one time. And that we can navigate this to a point where our students are feeling success, our teachers are feeling success, our community is feeling supported with our education. And let's face it, the school district is kind of the social epicenter for our kids. And we need to bring that back. We need our athletics program back. We need them out breathing the fresh air. We need to learn from COVID and take these lessons and apply them to the fall. So more discussions, previews of upcoming attractions. But absolutely, to your point, Kathy, we have to address it and we have to keep providing those opportunities.
Very, very good. So before I ask if there's any public comment, I just wanted to also just thank Kathy for some of those questions and comments, because I haven't heard too much from families other than families that are in person, and some that aren't attending because of the schedule. But there is a level of, I think there's also a level of what's not working for families is the connectivity. I mean, when I'm at work, sometimes my connectivity is horrible, and you could be having, great engagement and, great instruction. But if you can't hear and you've got all these hiccups, it's super frustrating. So I know that's happening too, but I don't know to what level. And also with the CDE, I know they struggled with the state testing. And I mean, I'm already just feeling, cringing but maybe they really want to see something, because maybe they're going to see that maybe the distant learning is more successful than we realize with the state testing. So I think that they struggled with allowing that, because I know it's always can be a gloom and doom, what comes out of the testing, but really people need to give themselves some grace and realize that the state's probably doing that to see what resources that we need. So we really need to be communicating right now to find out what resources our teachers need, if it's IT or if it's what it is. But anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent. But Renee, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, there's no public comment on this.
Okay. So if there's any other further questions or comments, please let me know now. Otherwise, we'll move on to the reopening plan for 7th grade and 12th, which would be the same, where it's just giving a status and update.
So no, actually, you have to take action on 10.4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
10.3, no action.
Right. But well, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking for the update now. If there's no questions on 10.3, let's move on to 10.4. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that. So are we ready to move to 10.4? Okay. So 10.4 is the reopening plan for grades 7 through 12.
And again, yay, go Wolves! I'm thrilled to death that our teachers said, hey, we're going to have our kids come to 3 classes. This is the best thing for our high school students. It's incredibly exciting, and thank you to FBDT and our high school teachers for revisiting and be open to it. And again, I only asked for 2 classes, and they came back with 3. So I'm super excited about what this plan is presenting. A days are Monday, Tuesday. B days are Thursday, Friday. First period is still a block, 9 to 10:15, a 5-minute passing period. Then second period, 10:20 to 11:35, 5-minute passing period. Then 11:40 to 12:55, and then the kids end the day in their third period class and attend their virtual learning team. So I gave you all the details in this plan. Again, it was approved by Dr. Corin, so we are good to go. Questions from you? Go ahead, Kathy.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to echo what everybody said about the staff, that this came from the staff. And I think that speaks volumes about our district and our high school, and teacher union advocating for the students, and listening to the public feedback and whatever spurred them, just their love of being with their kids. And I think that just needs to be honored again, that this came from the ground up, and that's really important for us as a community. And I thank you for that.
Agreed.
And I would echo that. I'm very proud of all of them, and it's huge. It's going to make a huge difference. So thank you.
So we are approving, didn't really approve, did we really approve the other plans? Because we approved the MOU. So you want us to vote on this?
I had the plans on the February board meeting. Again, as a point of transparency, and really we put them on the agenda for approval so that the public has the opportunity to comment.
I think though that because they're on action, that if you don't take action, you have to table them, because they're listed as action items.
So do you want me to go?
I need you to take action.
Yeah. Okay.
Take action or table. So, tabling is an action. You have to do something because it's listed in action item.
I would love to take action. Love to make a motion to adopt the reopening plan as presented for grades 7 through 12, if we're ready for a motion.
I second.
Great. Roll
Well,
call.
I should have jumped in
Yeah.
before the second, but should you have asked, do we have any public comment?
Your public comment on this one?
We do not have public comment on this.
No public comment on 7 through 12. Thank you for throwing that in there, Kathy. And any update, because I don't know that anyone, does everyone know the update? Maybe a question when this plan will be implemented?
The minute we go into the red tier. So the grades 7 through 12 may return when our county hits red tier status. There was discussion today that we could actually go into the red tier on Sunday because the governor is again adjusting how we get into the red tier. So what I heard today was different than what I heard yesterday when we were in the OES call for the county. So I at this point, your guess is as good as mine. However, I truly believe that our date for reopening grades 7 through 12 continues to be March 18th. And Scott, I'm going to need you to mute, please.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the goal is that how it's worked in the past, unless it's changed, is that our red tier status is determined Sunday through Saturday. And 2 weeks of red tier status for those Sunday through Saturday weeks. Then the state would evaluate the information on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we would be designated into the red tier. The schools need to wait 24 hours, which would be Wednesday. And then we could open on Thursday, the 18th. So that's the hope right now. If we are told on Tuesday that we are absolutely in the red, then the all calls will go out to grade 7 through 12 to say, see you on Thursday, B-Day kids. If for some reason on Sunday we get moved into the red tier, we're not going to have enough time to get the kiddos there on Monday because I've got to notify the staff. So if that happens, we're just going to stick with the plan to reopen on the 18th. That's the plan. Questions for me?
Do you know what is the governor's new thoughts?
I haven't dug deeply into it, to be quite honest with you. I got an email and then I got a text. Hey, Becky. And Scott even sent me an article today. And it was really about that the governor is looking at reclassifying counties as early as Sunday. And Scott, is that correct? Is that what you read as well?
So essentially the state has been trying to reach a goal of 20% or 2 million vaccines for rural or underdeveloped areas. And they think they're going to reach that goal on Saturday, which then allows certain areas to be changed on Sunday. So Sonoma County thinks they're going to go into the red on Sunday. We would probably be in the same boat. And then I believe the changes could happen daily, not weekly. But like Becky said numerous times, who the heck knows what's going to happen.
And we would still have to wait that 24 hours before we could open. So that's why I think we've told people Thursday, we're going to shoot for Thursday. And then someone will say, well, what if we go back into the red tier on Wednesday? The minute the county turns red, we have 3 weeks to open.
Well.
Even if we go back to purple, we have 3 weeks to open. So we're in good shape.
That's great. That's great to know, because I keep thinking if we don't open soon enough, we'll be starting over again.
Well, we've had how many scenarios get pulled from us? So I that's great to have it in print, but that print has changed about 10 times since last year. So, I mean, if that was the case, if we did go in on Sunday and we had to wait the 24 hours, I mean, Tuesday, you could easily do Tuesday or Thursday.
Right.
You know, a business day between, because we usually when you see something in print, it holds for a while, especially in education. But this year, it's not been that way. So, well, you know that we
Thursday, the 18th.
That week for sure.
And I remember this morning in the board chat, it was asked when the kids would find out. I guess a lot of kids know which group they're going to be in, but tomorrow they're going to announce that. They're going to send the notices out, Becky, is that right?
Yes. And I think the high school kids already know.
Okay, so while we've been talking, let's just check our emails and public comment to see if there's anything, because we do have a first and second to this action item. And I think the only question I thank you for bringing up the board chat. Maybe it was my question. Are 7th and 8th grade switching, or they're staying in their little cohort?
7th and 8th grade have one teacher. They are a self-contained class this year, so they will stay with their one teacher, and there is no public comment.
Okay, so I'm just checking my email as well, just to make sure, and I don't see anything either.
And so, just as a point of protocol, if anybody wants to provide public comment, it really needs to go through board meeting at fbusd.us. So that's how we know we are given permission to read it out loud in the board meeting and to put it into the public record for public comment.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Did Diana freeze on anybody else?
Yes.
Oh, and she's back. The wonders of the internet.
Sorry. So when you freeze, I'm frozen. So what I was just saying was, if we could just check one last time. Otherwise, let's do roll call if there's no other comments.
There's no
something
additional
comes in.
comment.
Okay.
And there's a motion on the table. Scott Schneider's made a motion. Mary Makala has seconded, and roll call. So Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the governance handbook. And I just wanted to give kudos to Kathy for pushing this. I think it took her 2 or 3 years to get us, the board, I don't know that I was there in the beginning, to formulate this handbook and as concise as we can, because I know it's pretty technical. So I just want to give her kudos for pushing, because it is really important. We do have to abide by the Brown Act, and that goes into it here. And Kathy guided us through this process, along with being the president for the last 2 years. And so I hope that I'm able to follow those steps and use the procedures and follow best practices with good governance. And so looking at this on an annual basis or semi-annual, and then getting the word out on why we have weird protocols and technical, this is best practice from years of other, experienced boards, that's law. So thank you, Kathy. I don't know if there are any other revisions to the handbook, or if we're ready to approve this 2021 version. And then we'll be able to post it on the website and share it at sites when we can be in person. Or Kathy?
I know, and Diana, I really don't need the thank you, but thank you. But also, thank you for all the editing you did. And I think we're updating our governance calendar. So I think, because we've kind of let it flop all over the place as to when we address it. So I think if we do, I think Scott might have suggested we do it right before the election time for officers and things. Not, I guess that's the wrong word, not the seat elections, but the December organizational meeting. So just whenever we stick this in the calendar so that it is revisited. So we're reminded what we're supposed to be doing and good practices.
Okay, so maybe, I don't know if I'll make a note of that to look at it at the same time we have our meeting before the organization meeting. So I don't know if that was included in this, but we can do it for edits next time.
And Diana, I just wanted to thank Renee for cleaning it all up. It looks really nice and tidy, and everything's straight the way it's supposed to be. So thank you.
Okay, so
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
So you don't have to ask Dana. So I move to approve and get signatures for the governance handbook for 2021.
I'll second.
And roll call.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
and trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the next item is 10.6, the 2019-20 audit. Wendy Boyce.
Okay, so normally our audit is required to be completed and approved in December. This year, the auditors didn't receive the state desk book telling them how to audit us for last year because of COVID. There were a lot of things that had changed. A lot of districts, because they received CARES Act money, that's federal money, it put them into a different tier of auditing because of the amount of federal dollars. So there was a lot of delay in getting this out. So we now have it in front of us. As usual, the first thing I do when I receive an audit is I go to the back and look at the findings. And for the second year in a row, we have none. So we have a pretty incredible team in this business office that do really wonderful work. And I am thrilled to work with them, and they make this good product. They do good work, and I'm really proud of the work they do. So that's where we are. Some of the things that are kind of noteworthy in there, when you look at the first part of it, that audits are for governmental agencies are required to be also translated into something that resembles a real world business type scenario. So when you look at some of the statements, it looks like we have a huge negative fund balance, and that's because they add in all of our debt, including our bonds. And so it brings us down, but we really operate on a cash basis. And based on a cash basis, we're doing just fine. So I don't know if you had any questions about anything that was in there. Audits are an odd little thing to try to present because you never really know what somebody wants to what somebody might be interested in asking about. So I'm happy to go over any part of it you want to or not.
I just wanted to thank you, Wendy, and your team for guiding us through all these ups and downs, which has just been insane. And we have a COLA, we don't have a COLA, there's this money, there's not that money. We're going to get, yeah. So you have been amazing. So thank you so very much. I think it makes our job a lot easier.
And I just want to reiterate, that having no findings for 2 years in a row, again, Wendy's being very modest that it's unheard of. I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. And so that's because of the meticulous nature on the business office. And I know oftentimes people get annoyed with, well, can't you just do it? Is how people look at it. And Wendy is always looking at changing the behavior so that we continue on this vein. So I have to go back and say, no, we can't just do it. So thank you, Wendy and the team. It does make a difference.
Very good. So my only comment, because this is going on my 5th year being on the board, and I have to say there's been no crazy findings. I mean, it's been like attendance problem or some tiny little, 6 cents wasn't accounted for in, one of the sites checking. So it's quite impressive across the board. So thank you very much, because these people are born to pick and find things. And if they're not finding anything, that's pretty impressive. So Thank you so much.
Well, I think we try really hard to make sure that when we ask our site secretaries to do something and do something a certain way, we explain to them why. And so I think that helps. They understand the importance of what they're doing, and that helps motivate people to do it when they understand the reason behind it.
Scott?
I was just going to ask, how did we pick the firm? And it seems like they only do school districts, and it's great to get no finding. Congratulations. And I think it'd just be good to know how we came to use them and how long we've been using them. And
this is, I believe, the 4th year this is the first year of a second 3-year contract. We went out, the county office generally reaches out to firms all over the state every few years and finds out how many people are interested in being part of the RFP. And that's how we originally came to work with them. And then I think most of the districts in the county are working with them right now. And we re-upped for another 3 years. I think I brought that to you when we did that. So at the end of that 3 years, we'll revisit it again. And I can't remember if this is the second of 3 or first of 3. I'm a little off. This whole last year has been a little strange. So it feels like 2 years, but it might only be 1.
Thank you for that question. May I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve item 10.6, 2019-20 audit.
I'll second.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makla.
Yes.
The motion carries.
And the next item is 10.7, second interim report and certification. Wendy Boyce.
Okay. Do you want me to try to share my screen, Becky, or can you do it?
No, I have it. I have it.
Okay, good. Because I have like too many screens and I don't have good luck with trying to do that. So thank you. So I thought I would start with the points of interest that I thought were things worth noting in the report, because as always, the SACS forms that go to the state I don't find them very useful. So I try to pull things out that I think will be useful to you as board members. So to start off with, the one thing that is running through all of it is kind of uncertainty. We are hoping that the proposals that the governor put out in January will hold. We don't know if they're going to hold. We'll find out in May. We don't have any idea of how many of the students that we haven't seen this year will return. We know that 60 of them moved out of the area, and we're anticipating that most of the others will return, but we don't know for certain. There are other things, the COLA, if you look at what's being forecast in the out years, it's all over the map. Some are higher than what we're using, some are lower. So school services is generally who we depend on for that. And they're usually kind of on the conservative side. So that's one of the things that we're using. And that's not always a huge thing if they're off by, 0.1 or 2. But in this case, we went into this year thinking we were going to have a nearly 2-point COLA, and we ended up with nothing. So what they did was they sort of did a hybrid for next year of what this year was going to be plus something for next year. So far, that seems like it's probably going to hold, but we'll see. We have some personnel costs that are going to be covered by our one-time COVID money. We're getting a second round of the ESSER and the GEAR, the CARES Act monies. And so some of the things we're going to be considering doing with those will be at least temporary in nature for at least the first year. But if you notice in the multi-year projections, I haven't reduced those expenses by that, because we're hoping that we'll have enough of those funds to be able to can maintain those programs for at least a couple of years. And then if they're something that's wildly successful, then we can consider possibly looking at funding them permanently, but we just can't at the moment because they are going to be funded with one-time dollars for now. Let's see what else. So those are some of the uncertainties. We also don't know at this point what deferrals are going to look like. Right now, they're saying that they're definitely going to happen for this year and possibly for next year, but we don't know. And we're able to have a positive certification, meaning that we're going to be able to meet our obligations for this year and the 2 out years. And with the additional reserves we have and some of our other carryovers, we're going to be able to maintain our liquidity even through the deferrals, which is nice because it means we don't have to do interfund borrowings. We don't have to do trans, which would cost us more than just the dollars that we would be borrowing. So that's very good. And some of that is due to some lower costs this year that are kind of natural when you don't have kids on campus. We've had some positions that we haven't filled because we haven't had kids, so the job can be done with less staff. So, that's something that we'll be picking up again next year. We are continuing to build towards the additional 6% reserve, and it's one of the reasons why we will have a positive cash balance at the end of this year. They're going to be approximately 2.5% at the end of the current year, and by the time we get to the third year, we'll be just over 4%. So hopefully we'll be keep moving in the right direction on that. And if you look at the multi-year, you'll see that it shows about an $800,000 deficit spending, which is not maintainable. But we always have around 100 to 150,000 that we know ends up getting carried over. And so in the back of our minds, we kind of have that plan. But that still means we're looking at $650,000 deficit spending in the third year out. So while we still end up with a healthy looking bottom line in that year, it doesn't take a whole lot of years for that to go away. So we may need to look at some adjustments next year for that out year, but we'll have a lot more information about what the world looks like. We will know better what our enrollment is going to look like, and we'll be able to make better decisions. Having to do that third year out is always a torment, because there's just too much unknown, and now even more than ever, the third year just feels like it shouldn't even be there. Our nutrition services revenues are up quite a bit. The reimbursement rate for the types of meals we're doing is actually kind of beneficial. And as a result of the way they're doing it, the problem is some of the other costs are a little bit higher. Some of the food costs are higher. There's a lot of more paper products that are being used. And that, so I believe that the general fund contribution is going to shrink. Right now, I've left it alone just because I don't know with the costs being higher as well as the revenues. We just got some reimbursements for the last couple of months that happened after this report was prepared, and those look pretty healthy. So I'm really hoping we'll be dropping that general fund contribution by quite a bit. So that was nice to see. And then, moving forward, we'll have to see how we just don't know what next year is going to look like. So again, it's one of those great unknowns. And then in the multi-year, I don't know what you'd like to discuss or look at in particular. You can see that compared to prior years, our federal funds look really, really nice. But then you look at in the restricted side, in the second year, it goes from 4 million to 1.6 million. And that's because of all that one-time COVID money, the CARES Act and the ESSER and the GEAR and all of that. Now, we are going to receive some more of that, but we don't have the exact amounts. There's nothing formally allocated yet. So we were told not to put those into our projections at this point because they're still a little bit uncertain as to the amount. We do have some expenses because we know we're going to have some of that money carry over. And so we've put some of the intervention things that we know we're going to do into next year. And so we will have some of that money to carry over to cover that. Was there anything in the multi-year that you had a question about?
Oh, go ahead, Diana.
Mary, you could.
Oh, actually the letter from MCOE about that to meet our 2-month recommendation, we would need to have 16.7% in reserve, which seemed huge.
It is, but that's what it is. If you divide,
Right.
your dollars by 12, that's the percentage that you need to meet 2 months worth of your expenses.
Right. And is that reasonable?
We had nothing above the required 3%, and now we have 2, and we're going to be looking after the third year out. We're going to be up over 4.
Mhm.
So we're making progress in that, and I am absolutely thrilled that we started to do that, because it really has made us able to weather this insanity much better than a lot of districts, really.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate that all the work you've done. It just seemed like, I was like, wow, 16.7, that's a huge number.
So, and Mary, remember that number, typically the county has always said you should maintain about a 9% reserve above your
Right.
6% above the 3, right? So that gives you 9. And so if you take 100, which is 100% of our budget, just like Wendy said, and divide it by 12, you get 8 and a third. Well, 8 and a third would be 1 month's worth of revenue. So then 2 months worth of revenue would be 16 and 2/3. And the hard part is that number is coming from a place of an unstable environment financially. We don't know what's going to happen. And we always don't know what's going to happen, but COVID has added a new little flavor to all of it, which is why the county is recommending that high of a reserve. And just to reiterate what Wendy said, the only reason why we're not looking at borrowing is because we have that. So.
Thanks.
So I just need clarification because I always struggle with the terminology, I guess. So for instance, let's say in the professional development, we've only used a third of it because there's no traveling or whatever. We'll just use that as an example. And so there's remaining in that category. So is that considered assigned and it's in the carryover and it's not in the cash? Where when you don't use, like you've budgeted X amount for a category, which is, I was just using that as an example because I saw that, we didn't even use half of what was in that.
Right. So most of the categories like that, I budgeted down knowing that we wouldn't be using it. And budgeted them back up again somewhat next year. So the things like substitutes are budgeted back in next year where we had reduced it quite a bit this year. I was hoping that we'd be able to keep utilities budgeted down. Unfortunately, our utility costs haven't dropped as much as I was hoping they would. So we've had to restore a little bit of that budget. So we're keeping an eye on the things that we believed would be lower and that we budgeted that way originally and are adjusting them as we move through the year to keep up with the reality of it. And a lot of our professional development right now is going through COVID funds because they are for learning loss mitigation programs. And so that's actually covering a lot of it. So even the little bit that I did have plugged in there from the general fund may end up being carried over.
So just to further that, so the carryover is still in that category. It's not like lumped into the general fund or considered cash. You see what I'm saying?
It depends on which area it was budgeted to. So if we had professional development in Title I, for instance, that's going to it's going to show as ending fund balance right now, but next year it's going to become deferred revenue. So if we had professional development scheduled in supplemental concentration, that's on the unrestricted side. And so that's going to end up in ending fund balance, but it's going to be assigned because it's supplemental concentration. So where it ends up depends on where it came from, which little pot it came from.
And the only other questions I have, do we have any idea to know, worrying about the declining enrollment, the 60 have moved away, the other 60, do you have any idea what site they may be, in the sense that maybe they're all kindergartners and they chose not to do the distant learning and will come back?
Well, no, these are students, what I'm counting are students that were here last year and are not here this year. So quite a few of them are homeschooling right now, and we anticipate that most of those will come back. I think we have a few that we believe went out of state temporarily and are likely to return. And this is based on people around knowing the people and, a little bit of hearsay, but hearsay in a small town can be helpful. But we do believe that, and we also anticipate a fairly normal kindergarten class, but we don't know. And I think that registration starts pretty soon, so we'll start getting those numbers. So until we start seeing enrollment and registration numbers and the May revise, we're kind of holding our breath on that one. But we did. I did anticipate most of those other 60 coming back.
And then just my last question, and I'll open it up to anyone else and public comment if there's any. So the 2 million, that's the AB 86. I think I have it right now. My understanding, and clarify this for me, is that this is money due to us anyway under the LCFF formula that might have been like a June deferral. So it's not like new money. So how do we account for that when it's rolling out like it's new money that we can do, learning loss and other categories?
I haven't heard that I haven't heard that that's replacing the deferrals. My understanding is we're still going to get our deferred money in the fall, and that this is the second round of the federal money passing through, the ESSER 2 money.
Okay, so is the ESSER 2 money the same as what was signed today, the American
Nope.
American plans? That's different. So I'll forward you the webinar I watched, and maybe I missed it, but it was saying that it was kind of money. It wasn't like it was just categorized differently, but it was really money that that's a part of our formula. So I'm just wondering how that'll work for our budget.
Well, it's based on, the allocation is based on our LCFF numbers, our unduplicated count. So in that regard, but I hadn't heard that it was a replacement for that. But I'll keep digging, but I hadn't heard that. If it is, that's disappointing.
I hope I'm wrong, but
I do
it
too.
Sure sounded like it wasn't extra money, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So does anyone else have questions for Wendy or public comment? If there happened to be any public comment on the audit or the second intern?
There was one public comment, but it's not related to this agenda item.
So does that mean it's not even?
Yeah, the public comment that Renee is referring to was that we had a public comment that went into spam, and I checked the spam folder, and so.
Kathy?
I don't really know if this is it was brought up, Wendy brought it up, but I just want to thank the staff and administration for the forward thinking that you guys have already put in the budget, and also started posting and hiring for the intervention programs that we know we're going to need coming out for learning loss mitigation and things. I just want to thank you again for being such a great advocate for students and being on top of that. And, we're not hiring in September for those types of things. So thanks for building that in, and thanks for already staffing so that we get high quality people.
So, these reports are great, but because they change so much, it's like a crystal ball that's not even crystal. And so I guess with all the new plan that was signed into law today and all this stuff, I assume that a lot of these numbers will change. There'll be a lot of COVID monies that we will get or won't get. And I guess I want to make sure that we have proper discussion when we know what funds become available, whether they're one-time, ongoing, so that we can spend them if we have to spend them appropriately, or use them for multi-year if we can. I just want to make sure this isn't the last time we talk about this until the next official report is on the calendar, I guess, because so much is happening and changing every day. And I think there's opportunity out there, which I believe you're taking advantage of. But I think even more opportunity as we come out of this pandemic, hopefully.
Well, we're going to be able to take a breath and stand back and look at it a little more closely. The money that the first funds that we got were a large chunk that had to be spent within like 6 months. We had 6 months. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity. There were needs we absolutely knew we had, and we spent the funds based on those absolute needs. The technology piece, the PPE, all of that were things that were kind of no-brainers. And so that's what we used that first pocket for. The next batches that are going to be spent have due dates or spend dates that are further out. So we are starting to have some internal conversations about what's the best thing to do with this. And then once we have some suggestions and thoughts, we will definitely bring them to the board for, comment and blessing as we go further. But we're going to have a little more breathing room to have those conversations with these next rounds.
Okay. And I think specifically, Becky, you mentioned at the April meeting, we're going to be talking about possibly having 3 different ways to go to school next year, and specifically how that relates to the funding we receive and if it affects it. And not that we have to talk about that now, but just something important to talk about as we move forward.
And you all bring up great points. One of the things that we continue to talk as an administrative team is trying to really focus the dollars where it's going to make the biggest impact, and trying to make sure that we're addressing all of our global needs. And the hard part right now, what I'm frustrated with, is that it's great that we have a pot of money coming in, but we're really handcuffed on how we can use it. And we're handcuffed in our facilities. It's easy to say, well, let's just hire more teachers. Well, it's Fort Bragg, for heaven's sakes. Where are they going to live? I mean, there's question number 1. Question number 2 is what classroom? So we have so many things that we have to think about. But the good news is that we are talking about really global ideas, and we will have some things for you to look at in April. I'm excited about some of the things that we are bringing about. We're talking to staff. We're really trying to find the best fits that we can for this pot of money. And here's what people need to remember. It's one time. This is not ongoing dollars, which makes me incredibly nervous. It's one time. So doing things like getting all the tech equipment that we purchased was important, because that's not ongoing, right? We're having discussions about getting new Chromebooks, because we're recognizing that the Chromebooks that we got may not be beefy enough to do the job that we need them to do. But that's one time. That's a great use of one-time money. So these are some of the conversations that we're having on the administrative side. We will be bringing some of that to you over the next few months for you to look at and take action on some expenditures. So we're trying to be very focused, targeted, and systematic on how we address this. The hard part is people are going to look at this and say, oh, look at that pot of money. We should be doing raises. We should be doing this. And some of it we just can't. That's the difficulty. So it may look like a lot, and we're all going to say, jazz hands, hooray. But we're very limited on the scope of spending this. So just FYI. And Wendy, do you still need me to present? Is there anything on here? Did we get through it?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So if there's no public comment or any further questions, then may I have a motion?
I move to approve the second interim report and certification.
Second?
I'll second.
Renee, roll call, please.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yeah. Yes. I was so good about listening the other day.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, so the next part of the agenda is information and discussion. So we have 11.1.
Oops.
I felt like answering the phone. So this is the conflict of interest code, the form 700 that we all need to fill out. And we have to do this annually by March 30th. And Renee was able to post a blank form. And Becky, if you want to chime in, I had no idea that admin had to fill this out as well. But I know as board members or anyone that's on a public board needs to fill it out and disclose any potential conflict so that the public's aware of business that you have or do in the community that would be a conflict on your duties here on the board. And so you could speak up on behalf of some staff members.
So all the administrators are required to complete the 700 form every year, and that's because we're in a place to make fiduciary decisions or recommendations to the board. And so we fill out our 700 form, and basically for the public, that means that we are showing, do we have any public interest? Is there any interest that we need to disclose? For the majority of us, the answer is no. So, but every administrator has completed theirs, correct, Renee? So, and it's a real thing, by the way. I didn't complete one for a board that I'm on I'm a backup, I'm an alternate, and I didn't know I had to complete it for that, and I got fined. Explain that to your spouse. Not that I'm bitter, everyone's muted, it's fine.
We have all of the necessary Form 700s. I believe I'm waiting for one.
Is the board, is everyone submitted on the board?
No.
No. Okay.
It's me. We'll just put
Okay.
that out there.
Well, you're well within your your deadline, but I just want to make sure mine arrive because I
Everyone
We
is
shouldn't wait
in.
until the 29th then.
You have plenty of time. Plenty of time, Kathy.
Thank you for putting this on the agenda because people don't know, it's a requirement and it's a form and people do pay attention and you will be fined if you don't fill it out correctly or at all. Moving on to 11.2. This was a discussion that probably stemmed from our last, our annual board retreat. And we wanted to continue the discussion of our Google Drive, trying to perfect that. And then the governance calendar, I put that on as something that we should probably get a subcommittee for and talk about the importance of the governance calendar to keep track of, subject matters so that when you have public interest on a topic that you have them methodically spaced out throughout the year so that you're not piecemealing people's comments and having like the same subject every month, and that's the goal of the governance calendar. So we need to really maybe look at that and see if we want to continue using that as a tool that we haven't really relied on. And then the other piece is the governance professional development. We've all had some training, and if we could gather some training and just present at this potential April-May board workshop. So I just wanted to put it on the agenda to throw out so that we can continue this discussion so that we are doing the best governance that we can and we're following the Brown Act. Scott.
So on this topic, and this is a question more for Becky, I think you and I got denied our final course for the MIG. Are they offering that remotely? And is that something that we want to try and finish?
Yeah, we need to look at it, Scott. I think you and I are the last ones here. We both need MIG 5.
Okay.
So Renee, you and I will talk about that tomorrow. MIG, Masters in Governance, and Scott and I need course 5 to complete, and then we'll get our little pin.
Yes. And it's nice that, while they're offering it remotely, it will save money.
No kidding. Good call there, sir. I appreciate that.
And it is pretty worthwhile. They did a pretty good job, although there was a technical glitch every hour, but it was short-lived. And you do breakout rooms, which was pretty cool. So you can, meet with 5 people. So you probably will have, hopefully, did you say you were denied or you just haven't finished 5?
No, we signed up and then COVID hit, they canceled the course.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I thought you meant that the virtual class you signed up for was full.
No.
No, but I did notice because I did look recently and they fill up very fast.
They actually do. So that's what I wanted to clarify so we could talk to them about that. So anyway, Renee, I don't know if in the past we've used, what was it called, Doodle to find a date. And I was thinking of to be mindful of everyone's time. It would be after tax season, but maybe a 12:30 time. So that's during business hours. So no one's working over hours, like a Wednesday or a Friday. If you could check Becky's calendar and see what we can throw out and get something on the calendar so we can talk about these items. And if there are no questions or comments, we will move on to the advanced planning suggestions for future board meetings. If anyone has any input on that.
So again, I just want to reiterate that I'd like us to talk about educational options for the fall. and then talking about when to send out those parent surveys and how to gather that information for the April board meeting.
Becky, I think, we've gotten, since COVID hit, we've kind of gone away from our special meetings and our, we had tried to pick one or two topics so that families could come or parents could come and not have to stay here all night to listen to a 20-minute thing. I'm thinking that maybe that would definitely be a good workshop / special so that parents knew exactly at 6 o'clock we were going to talk about what the platforms would be, so anyway, there's a thought, but you're also thinking that that we're also going to need another, so we might be specialing it up here for a couple months, but anyway, I just thought that would be nice to, again, parents know we're going to be here for an hour talking about this. I can join. I will find some way to keep my kids entertained for an hour and attend.
I also learned recently that I get to submit another plan. It's very exciting. I'm not really excited, but so that plan is going to have to be approved and submitted prior to June 1. And it's really about it's our COVID money, essentially, that we have to provide a plan to show how we will be spending our money and show that we've provided public input. And I'm going to be doing some of that through our LCAP meetings. So we will more than likely need a special before June 1st in order to review that and either approve, deny, send me back for modifications or whatnot. So that's something we're going to have to look at. We could, at the same time, do the site plans, the school site plans, and that special meeting as well, so that it comes off of the regular meeting. But that's up to all of you.
The school plan. Mm-hmm. So we had a mid-year
single plan. The school plan for school plan for student achievement.
Okay. And then the COVID. Anyway, we're probably getting a little bit in the weeds here. So we'll have a special meeting on those things. And then maybe we'll have more information on what kind of education processes we can do for next fall. And Scott, did you have something?
Are we going to discuss at what level we return to in-person meetings?
That was mentioned at the
board. Yeah, that was mentioned at the board chat briefly this morning. So I wanted to find out.
So that's twofold right now. Let's say we go into orange, okay? Unless the distancing changes, we can't fit more people into the classroom. So if we get CDPH guidance, the California Department of Public Health, that says, okay, when we go into orange, we can take our physical distancing down to 3 feet, down to 4 feet. That will change because it's a domino effect. That will impact how we can return.
Now, yes. What
the board meetings is what?
Yeah, I'm talking about board meetings, but I'm also talking about what about the recent guidelines for vaccinated people, for example? Like if everyone on the board in the room is vaccinated, we don't need to be six feet from one another. So, we don't have to have the discussion now, but it would be, nice to see you all again, that's all.
Well, I would say at the April 11th meeting that we should put on discussion live in-person board meetings. I think it's something that we should talk about.
Yeah, I do too. Because, just from my work as well, the average age is 64 and we see people and we touch paper and we can do that. We've been doing that for a year. So I don't know why we can't meet in person, socially distance. But we'll put that on. The next agenda setting is March 29th. So we'll have that on there. Are there any other topics? Otherwise, we'll move on to housekeeping. Okay. So it looks like Dana Gray ELAC is March 16th. And I think there might be a Three Rivers meeting as well that might not be on here, that if Scott wanted to go attend, I think it might be that same day.
It's Tuesday, March 16th.
Okay. So Scott, if you could check your calendar and if you can attend, then let me know. And
sure.
I'll check in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then I'll check in with Jerry about Dana Gray. And March 17th is 2 p.m. Redwood ELAC meeting. And I should be able to attend that. March 18, 10 a.m. is the Fort Bragg Middle School ELAC meeting. Mary?
Mm-hmm.
And Scott, if you can attend the Three Rivers Board meeting on the 16th, I need to attend the Dana Gray ELAC meeting. There's been a shift. Thank you.
So the next meeting is Dana Gray Site Council meeting, 1:30 on March 18th. So I'll check in with Jerry. 5:30 March 23rd is Redwood DLAC meeting, and I should be able to attend that as well. March 25th, I don't know, is that something that a board member can attend, Becky? The Dana Gray Trimester Awards Assembly?
So my understanding is I think they pop into individual classrooms. And so if you'd like to do that, Mr. Kale can send you the Google Classroom link. It's super sweet, I have to tell you. I got to attend, I think Mrs. Rogers. Awards.
Okay, so it goes into one classroom, not like throughout.
It goes into one classroom at a time.
Okay, gotcha. So we could pick a
It could be different, so I will ask Mr. Kale.
Okay. And then April 6th is the Dana Gray ELAC meeting, 5:30, and I'll check with Jerry's schedule. April 8th, 10 a.m., Fort Bragg Middle School ELAC meeting,
Yeah.
Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our meeting on April 8th at 6 p.m. And going back to March, March 29th is our agenda setting for Kathy. So that's good for you. And I believe that's the end of our agenda, and we will be reconvening our closed. But before we do that, if I could have a motion and a second for adjournment.
I'll motion.
Go ahead. You go, Scott.
In honor of Jerry, I'll motion to adjourn.
Mary second.
Yeah.
And all in favor?
All right. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Very good. So moved. We adjourn at 8:27 and we'll reconvene to close session.
Thank you, Nathan Alexander, for filming.
Same
You,
link as
Nate.
earlier? Same link? Okay.
Bye, folks.